The crimson dawn, the silence of space shattered like glass when the Valerian royal fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of Lunar Station, watching through the reinforced viewport as crimson ships materialized in the darkness. Each vessel was a masterpiece of destruction, their hulls gleaming like drops of blood against the stars. Sarah's coffee mug trembled in her hands as she counted the ships. 50, then 100, then too many to count. The Valerian Empire had sent their entire Third Fleet to claim Earth, and Sarah knew exactly what that meant. She had studied the reports from the few survivors who had escaped other conquered worlds. The Valerians did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They simply took what they wanted and eliminated everything else. Commander Chen to the bridge. Her communicator crackled. Sarah took one last look at the approaching armada before heading to the command center. The Lunar Station bridge was a hive of activity, with officers frantically analyzing sensor data and establishing communication. Links with Earth's defense forces. Report, Sarah said as she entered the bridge. Lieutenant Commander James Park, her second-in-command, looked up from his console with grim eyes. Ma'am, we're detecting 847 hostile vessels. They're maintaining formation at the edge of the system, but they're not advancing yet. It appears they're waiting for something. Sarah nodded. She had studied Valerian tactics extensively. They always gave their targets one chance to surrender before beginning the slaughter. It was not mercy, but efficiency. A planet that surrendered required fewer resources to control than one that had been reduced to rubble. Incoming transmission, reported Communications Officer Rita Santos. It's broadcasting on all frequencies, every language on Earth. Put it through, Sarah ordered. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the face of Supreme Admiral Vexka. The Valerian commander was tall and imposing, with pale grey skin and eyes like chips of black ice. His uniform was decorated with medals representing the 43 worlds he had conquered in his long career. Earth would be number 44. People of the third planet, Dexkar's voice was cold and mechanical as the universal translator converted his words. I am Supreme Admiral Dexkar of the Valerian Royal Fleet. Your world has been designated for annexation by the Valerian Empire. You have 12 of your planetary rotations to prepare for transition. All military forces will stand down. All planetary leaders will report to designated processing centers. Any resistance will be met with complete annihilation. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Sarah felt the weight of billions of lives pressing down on her shoulders. She was just one woman commanding a small orbital defense station, but she had been chosen to coordinate humanity's response to this moment. Open a channel to Earth Command, she ordered. Within minutes, the screen filled with the faces of Earth's military and political leaders. President Maria Gonzalez spoke first, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Commander Chen, what's our situation? The Valerian fleet is holding position at the system's edge, Sarah reported. They're waiting for our response to their ultimatum. Based on historical data, they'll begin their attack in exactly 12 hours if we don't surrender. General Robert Ars, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, leaned forward. Our combined space forces have maybe 300 ships. Most of them are patrol vessels and cargo haulers. We can't match their firepower. Then we don't match their firepower, Sarah replied. We outthink them. For the past 20 years. Ever since first contact with other alien species had warned Earth about the Valerian Empire. Humanity had been preparing for this day, Not with massive fleets or superweapons, but with something far more dangerous: human ingenuity. Dr. Marcus Rivera, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, joined the conference from his underground laboratory. "The modifications are complete," he reported. "Every ship in our fleet has been equipped with adaptive shielding and quantum torpedoes. The Valerians won't be expecting human technology." The quantum torpedoes were humanity's secret weapon. While other species had focused on building bigger guns and thicker armor, human scientists had developed weapons that could adapt and evolve during combat. Each torpedo learned from the battle as it happened, becoming more effective with every shot. "What about the ground defenses?" asked President Gonzalez. "Every major city has been fortified," replied General Hayes. "We've built the defense networks deep underground, hidden from their sensors. If they try to land troops, they'll face resistance from every direction." Sarah studied the tactical display, showing the Valerian fleet. They're used to fighting conventional enemies, species that line up their ships and trade shots until one side breaks. "We're going to show them what happens when they face humans." The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation. Earth's fleet moved into position, but not in the formations the Valerians expected. Instead of clustering together for mutual protection, human ships spread out across the entire solar system. They hid behind asteroids, used the gravity of planets to mask their approach, and prepared ambush points at every major junction. Captain Zara Okafor checked her fighter squadron's equipment one final time. She was Earth's best pilot, a former test pilot who had volunteered for the most dangerous missions. Her squadron was composed of volunteers from every nation on Earth, united by their determination to defend their home. "Listen up, people," Zara addressed her pilots over the communication system. "We're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to survive. Use every dirty trick you know, and then invent some new ones. The Valerians think they're hunting sheep, but we're going to show them they're dealing with wolves." On the Valerian flagship, Supreme Admiral Vexkar reviewed the intelligence reports on humanity. The humans had achieved spaceflight only recently and had never conquered another world. By all accounts, they should be easy prey. Yet something about their response troubled him. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "the humans have not responded to our ultimatum. Our deadline has passed." Vexkar nodded slowly. In 43 previous conquests, every species had either surrendered immediately or sent desperate pleas for mercy. The humans had done neither. They had simply ... waited. "Begin the advance," he ordered. "Standard formation. We'll demonstrate our power and give them one final chance to surrender." The Valerian fleet moved into the solar system like a red tide of destruction. Their ships were works of art, beautiful and terrible, designed to inspire fear in anyone who saw them. They had conquered worlds with their appearance alone, causing entire civilizations to surrender rather than face such overwhelming force. But as they approached Jupiter's orbit, something unexpected happened. The seemingly empty space around them suddenly filled with human ships. The vessels appeared from behind asteroids, dropped out of stealth mode, and emerged from the planet's radiation shadow where they had been hiding. "Impossible," Vexkar muttered, staring at the tactical display. "How many ships do they have?" "Approximately 300 vessels detected," his sensor officer reported. "But Admiral, they're not maintaining formation. They're everywhere." The human ships moved like a school of fish, each vessel independent but coordinated with the others. They darted between the larger Valerian ships, firing their quantum torpedoes and then disappearing before the aliens could return fire. Sarah watched the battle unfold from Lunar Station, coordinating the human response. All units, remember the plan. Hit and run. Don't give them time to target you. Make them chase shadows. The first quantum torpedo struck a Valerian cruiser, and the alien ship's shields flared as they absorbed the impact. But the torpedo had learned from the contact, analyzing the shield frequency and composition. The second torpedo adjusted its parameters and punched through the shields like they were made of paper. "What kind of weapon is that?" Dexcar demanded, as he watched his ships take damage. "Unknown technology, Admiral," his weapons officer replied. "Their projectiles are adapting. Each shot is more effective than the last." For the first time in his career, Dexcar felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. The humans were not fighting like any enemy he had faced. They were creative, unpredictable, and somehow they were making his superior technology work against him. Captain Zara led her fighter squadron in a daring attack on the Valerian flagship. Her small ships were like gnats compared to the massive alien vessel, but they were fast and maneuverable. They wove between the flagship's weapon arrays, targeting its sensor clusters and communication arrays. "Fox Squadron, target the bridge superstructure," Zara ordered. "If we can blind them, their coordination will break down." The human fighters swarmed over the flagship like angry bees, their weapons cutting through alien armor with surgical precision. The Valerians tried to swat them away, but the human pilots were too skilled and too determined. Dr. Rivera monitored the battle from his laboratory, analyzing the performance of human weapons against Valerian technology. "Sarah, the adaptive systems are working even better than we hoped. Our weapons are learning faster than their defenses can adapt." "Keep the data flowing," Sarah replied. "Every ship needs to know what works and what doesn't." This was the key to humanity's strategy asterisk. The spark that ignites the galaxy the second day of the war began with a discovery that would change everything. Deep in the asteroid belt, Captain Zara Okafor's damaged fighter had drifted into the debris field of a destroyed Valerian transport. As her ship's automated systems worked to repair the damage, she detected something unusual, a faint life sign coming from the wreckage. "Lunar Station, this is Fox Leader," Zara reported. "I'm detecting a survivor in the alien wreckage. Requesting permission to investigate." Commander Sarah Chen studied the tactical display from her command center. The main battle had moved closer to Mars, giving them a brief window of opportunity. "Permission granted, Fox Leader, but be careful, it could be a trap." Zara maneuvered, her fighter close to the twisted remains of the Valerian ship. Using her suit's cutting laser, she carved through the hull and entered the darkened interior. Her helmet lights illuminated corridors filled with strange alien equipment and the eerie lyre silence of a dead ship. She found the survivor in what appeared to be a detention cell. The being was unlike any Valerian she had seen before. Whether Valerians were pale and cold-looking, this alien had blue-tinted skin and kind eyes that held intelligence and pain. He was chained to the wall, barely conscious. "Can you understand me?" Zara asked, activating her universal translator. The alien's eyes focused on her with surprise. You are not Valerian. What species are you?" "I'm human, from Earth, the planet your friends are trying to conquer." The alien's eyes widened. "Human, but that is impossible. The Valerians said they would destroy your world in hours. How are you here?" "We're still fighting," Zara replied. working to free the alien from his chains. "What's your name? What are you doing on a Valerian ship?" "I am Kethva of the Zalani people. I was a prisoner. The Valerians destroyed my world 3 years ago. They kept some of us alive as slaves and ... examples." Zara's blood ran cold. Examples of what? Of what happens to species that resist the Empire. They parade us before new worlds they wish to conquer, showing what defiance brings. Kethva looked at her with desperate hope. "But if you were still fighting, perhaps?" "There is hope after all." As Zara helped Kethva to her fighter, she realized they had found something more valuable than any weapon. A witness to the Valerian Empire's crimes and a living symbol of hope for other oppressed species. Back on Lunar Station, Dr. Rivera was making discoveries of his own. The wreckage from the first day's battle had provided him with intact Valerian technology to study. What he found changed everything they thought they knew about their enemy. "Sarah, you need to see this," he called, his voice filled with excitement. And horror, Sarah joined him in the laboratory, where he had several alien devices spread across his workbench. "What did you find?" "The Valerians aren't just conquerors," Rivera explained. "They're harvesters. Look at this." He showed her a device that looked like a crystalline storage unit. "This contains the digitized consciousness of an entire species. The Valerians don't just destroy civilizations, they steal their knowledge, their culture, their very essence." Sarah stared at the device in horror. How many species are in there? Dozens, maybe hundreds. The Valerians have been doing this for millennia, absorbing the knowledge of every species they encounter. That's how they've become so powerful. But why keep prisoners like that? Alien Zara found. Rivera's face darkened. Because some things can't be digitized. Creativity, inspiration, the will to resist. They keep living examples to study, to understand what makes species fight back. The implications were staggering. The Valerian Empire wasn't just a military threat. It was a cosmic plague that consumed entire civilizations. And now they had come for Earth. Supreme Admiral Dexcar stood in his command center, studying the tactical reports with growing frustration. The humans had been fighting for 3 days now, and instead of weakening, they seemed to be getting stronger. Their weapons were evolving, their tactics were improving, and worst of all, they were learning. From every engagement, Admiral, his intelligence officer, approached nervously. "We've intercepted human communications. They're broadcasting to other star systems." "What?" Dexcar spun around. "Show me." The main screen displayed a human transmission being. Sent across the galaxy, Captain Paul Martinez, Earth's military spokesperson, was speaking directly to the camera. "People of the galaxy," Martinez said, his voice carrying across the cosmos. "My name is Paul Martinez, and I'm speaking to you from Earth. The Valerian Empire came to our world 3 days ago, demanding our surrender. They told us resistance was futile, that we would be destroyed like all the others. But we're still here, we're still fighting, and we're winning." The transmission showed footage of human ships outmaneuvering Valerian vessels, of quantum torpedoes piercing alien shields, of human pilots performing impossible maneuvers in the face of overwhelming odds. "We know you're out there," Martinez continued. "We know you're watching. We know you've been told that resistance is impossible, that the Valerians are too powerful to defeat. But we're proving that wrong. We're showing the galaxy that the Empire can be challenged, that freedom is worth fighting for." Dexcar felt a cold fear grip his heart. In all his years of conquest, No species had ever broadcast their resistance to the galaxy. The humans were not just fighting for their own world, they were trying to inspire others to rebel. "Cut that transmission," he ordered. "We cannot, Admiral. They're broadcasting from multiple sources, using quantum encryption we cannot break." The transmission continued, with Martinez introducing other human leaders and scientists. But the most powerful moment came when Kethfa appeared on screen, speaking in his native language with subtitles in dozens of alien tongues. "I am Kethfa of the Zilani," he said, his voice carrying across the galaxy. 3 years ago, the Valerians destroyed my world and enslaved my people. They told us we were the last, that no one would ever challenge them again. But I have seen humans fight. I have seen them refuse to surrender even when faced with impossible odds. The Valerians are not invincible. They can be defeated. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the Valerian Empire. On worlds across the galaxy, species that had been enslaved for generations began to whisper of rebellion. Underground resistance movements that had been crushed began to reform. The human example was spreading like wildfire. On the mining world of Turthan 4, a slave named Voxstar looked up from his work as the human transmission played on hidden screens throughout the mining complex. He had worked in the mines for 15 years, ever since the Valerians had conquered his homeworld. Like all the others, he had accepted that resistance was hopeless. But now, seeing humans fight back successfully, something stirred in his chest. Something that had been dormant for years. Hope. "Brothers," he whispered to his fellow workers, "the time has come." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The Valerian Empire had built its power on the assumption that resistance was futile, that no species could successfully challenge their might. But the humans had shattered that assumption, and the cracks were spreading throughout the Empire's foundation. Commander Sarah Chen coordinated the next phase of humanity's plan from Lunar Station. They had proven they could fight the Valerians, but they knew they could not win through military might alone. They needed to turn this into something bigger. "Status report on Operation Lighthouse," she requested. Dr. Rivera looked up from his console. "We've established quantum communication links with 17 different star systems. The resistance networks are growing exponentially. Every hour, more species are joining the rebellion." "What about the prison breaks?" Captain Zara, now working closely with Kethfa to coordinate alien resistance efforts, provided the update. "We've identified 12 major prison worlds within reach of human ships. The first rescue mission launches in 6 hours. The plan was ambitious and dangerous. Using information provided by Kethfa and other freed prisoners, human ships would launch simultaneous attacks on Valerian prison worlds, freeing thousands of enslaved beings and adding them to the growing rebellion. But the most important target was the prison world of Kethfa's homeworld, where the Valerians kept their most dangerous prisoners, the former leaders of conquered civilizations. As the human fleet prepared for their most daring mission yet, Supreme Admiral Vexkar made a decision that would determine the fate of the galaxy. He opened a communication channel to the Valerian High Command. Asterisk. "This is Admiral Vexkar," he reported. "I am requesting immediate reinforcement. The human resistance has grown beyond our initial projections. They are inspiring rebellion across the galaxy." The response came from the Emperor himself, an ancient being whose cruelty was legendary throughout the cosmos. "You are requesting assistance against a single primitive world. Explain yourself, Admiral. These humans are different, Your Majesty. They do not fight like other species. They adapt, they learn, they inspire others. If we do not stop them now, The rebellion will spread beyond our ability to control. There was a long pause before the Emperor responded. Very well. The first fleet is being dispatched to your location. But Admiral, if you fail to crush this rebellion, you will share the fate of the worlds you have failed to conquer. The communication ended, leaving Dexcar staring at the tactical display. The first fleet was the Empire's most powerful force, with over 3,000 ships and weapons capable of destroying entire star systems. But as he watched the human ships dancing through space, fighting with impossible courage and determination, he wondered if even that would be enough. The prison break mission launched exactly as planned. Human ships, working with newly freed alien allies, struck at Valerian prison worlds across the galaxy. The attacks were coordinated with precision, using intelligence gathered from freed prisoners and tactics developed through days of combat. On the prison world of Gethma, former rebel leader Texahan felt the ground shake as human ships bombarded the facility's defenses. After 20 years of captivity, he had never expected to see another rebellion. But here were beings from a world he had never heard of, fighting to free him and his fellow prisoners. The humans have come, he whispered to his cellmate, a warrior. From the Korith species, the galaxy burns with rebellion once more. As the prison walls fell and the prisoners emerged into the light, they brought with them something the Valerian Empire had tried to destroy: the knowledge and experience of 1,000 conquered worlds, military tactics, scientific discoveries, cultural wisdom. All of it had been preserved in the minds of those who had refused to surrender. The rebellion was no longer just human. It had become something greater, a galactic uprising that combined the best of every species the Valerians had tried to destroy back in Earth's solar system. The final battle was about to begin. The Valerian First Fleet had arrived, darkening space with their numbers. But they would not face the same small human force that had begun this war. They would face an alliance of species united by a common cause: the complete destruction of the Valerian Empire. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of Lunar Station, watching as ships from dozens of worlds took their positions alongside human vessels. The rebellion had begun with humanity's refusal to surrender, but it had grown into something that would reshape the galaxy forever. All ships, this is Commander Chen, she broadcast to the combined fleet. Today we do not fight just for Earth, or for any single world. We fight for the freedom of every species in the galaxy. We fight to ensure that no being ever again lives in fear of the Valerian Empire. Today we end their reign of terror forever. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin, and at its center were the humans who had refused to kneel, who had chosen to fight against impossible odds, and who had shown the galaxy that even the mightiest empire could fall. When faced with the united will of free beings, the spark had become a flame, and that flame was about to become an inferno that would consume the Valerian Empire and light the way to a new age of freedom among the stars. Asterisk.